Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome once again to the Ridiculously Lame Wrestling Show. My name is Tony Squares. As always, I'm joined by Mr. Robert Lentini. Been covering this industry for a decade, now a writer for Sportskeeda. And this week, we have a lot to talk about in the world of wrestling. We have to pick up the pieces of what Money in the Bank has left behind. We have actual builds happening in AEW with a Mariah
Wow.
May turn, MJF versus Ospreay, the Owen Hart final. So much to discuss. And of course, the return of one of our favorite wrestlers in either promotion. I can't wait to dive into it. Let's jump right in with the main card of the week, starting with the Curtain Jerker. And Bob, we'll talk about Money in the Bank in a second, the greater portions of that botch fest of a show. But let's dive in instead to the biggest thing that I took away from that show, and that is we are now in the midst of a John Cena retirement tour. And my friend, you can love John Cena, you can despise John Cena. You cannot deny the ability and what that man has done for this industry. And the fact that he came out and said, I'm going to be here for a calendar year through WrestleMania until the end of next year? I don't know exactly. It's a little fuzzy to me on how long he's going to be here. But the fact matter is he is going to be here, and that is good for business. How are you feeling about the return of John Cena?
Well, I'm sad to see John Cena go. Just full disclosure, I hated John Cena for the majority of my childhood. I thought he was the worst.
A lot of people did.
Yeah, and then I grew up and realized, wow, this guy can talk. He knows how to. He just knows how to sell a fight. He knows what the wrestling business is. He's just a model citizen. So it's just going to be sad to see him go. Sad to see the jean shorts retired. But one more year, there's a lot that he can do. A lot of rivalries he can renew. Maybe CM Punk, have one more match with him. That Punk already mentioned it. Some of the young guys maybe fight Austin Theory again and try to make that WrestleMania 39 loss make sense for all of us. There's a lot he can do. But I'm sad to see him go. He's a legend of the business. I don't know why they had to have that promo on Money in the Bank. They could have done it on SmackDown, but whatever. What are your thoughts on John Cena?
They did it on Money in the Bank. We'll talk about Money in the Bank in a second, but let's focus on Cena here. We're going to have him in Elimination Chamber, in the Royal Rumble, in WrestleMania. He has, I believe he said 30 to 40 dates they're negotiating that he will be on screen, potentially wrestling. And that means there's a lot more than just one or two guys he's going to be fighting. We might get some throwaway matches with guys like a Jacob Fatu, for instance. Like, there are people on that roster that it would be so fun to pit John Cena against. Let's get a Kevin Owens reunion. Let's get an AJ Styles reunion. Absolutely. Throw it back to the good old days with Randy Orton. There's so many ways this could go, because when Cena is in the ring, it matters. But my question to you is, the whole entire year for WWE builds up to WrestleMania. And we know John Cena is going to be there. It's not a surprise. He's not going to be waiting in the audience to maybe fight The Undertaker. No. We actually have a guy booking in Triple H. You may agree or disagree with some of his decisions. The guy knows how to tell a story, especially long-term. And if John Cena's on the books, they're going to figure out something long-term for him. So my question for you is, who should John Cena face at WrestleMania? 9 months from now, who should that final WrestleMania opponent be for John Cena? Potentially one of the greatest wrestlers of all time.
That's a loaded question, because the natural answer would be somebody like Punk, because it's a spectacle. WrestleMania is the show of shows, right? But I like your name you just mentioned literally a minute ago, Jacob Fatu, because I think they should put him. You don't like that? I do.
Go. I'm just imagining it. It excites me. All of these excite me. Go for it.
I just think that Jacob Fatu, giving him a win over John Cena at WrestleMania, he'll be able to capitalize on it, unlike Austin Theory did 2 years ago. I think that makes sense if you're trying to make Fatu this. Triple H has already referred to Jacob Fatu as a game changer. He has a lot of faith in the guy. I'm already been blown away just by seeing him for a couple weeks, and just how invested in his insane character he is. So I'm good with that. And then you can sprinkle that Punk match in, and the other like classic rivalries renewed with Orton or maybe Roman Reigns throughout the year, but give someone new a big win at WrestleMania and have them actually capitalize on it, unlike Theory. But what about you? Who would you want to see him face at WrestleMania?
I think that's a great idea. I am very much in the let's play the fucking hits, and I want to see CM Punk versus John Cena. I do. I think that is a match that you said it's a spectacle. That is a match that you can end night one of WrestleMania with. And if Punk's going to be around for a while, I understand he's old as well. That win can propel Punk forward, especially if he's going to eat a loss to Drew McIntyre in a few months here. I think CM Punk doesn't need it, no way. But also, this is the retirement tour, man. Like we're I want to see this happen. I want to see these guys face off one more time. The promos they could cut on each other, the realness that this would have, because they really did not like each other back in the day. So
Yeah.
to see it all come out to play when they're a little bit older, a little bit wiser, a little bit more mature, less pressure on them to have the belts and carry the company. No, this is almost a sideshow of a match that they're going to take it upon themselves to make it the biggest story of the match. These two faces on a poster would sell out the stadium. And so I
Yeah.
just think that match would be so awesome, and that's what I hope to see. And what I don't want to see, and I'm interested to hear what you have to say, what I don't want to see with this entire year plus run of finality for John Cena, I don't want to see him have a belt because he doesn't need it. He's done it all. When John Cena's in the ring, it doesn't matter what the stipulation is. It doesn't need to be for a belt. It's for John Cena. It's for legacy. It's for pride. And I don't need to see any type of 18th world championship or whatever his number is now on John Cena. Keep the record as it is and just move forward with what John Cena has. Now, if we get a Cena versus Randy Orton match for a championship, that's a different story. But I don't think John Cena needs a belt. What do you think?
No, I don't know if he's tied with Ric Flair for all time or what the deal is, but I'm fine with him never breaking that or never having another title. I think he, like you said, he doesn't need it. He has a bajillion records in the wrestling industry.
Yeah.
Why does he need that one too? But yeah, if it's against Randy Orton, maybe, but I'd rather just see him stay far away from the title, maybe fail at trying to get it, maybe fail in the Royal Rumble and you start a rivalry there till WrestleMania with whoever eliminates him. Maybe that's how we get there. But yeah, I don't need to see Cena as champion as either. I'm good with him just feuding with young stars or playing the hits, as you said.
Yeah, I can't wait. Welcome back, John Cena. Very happy to see you or not see you there. But let's move on now to the mid card of today's conversation. We're starting with where Cena came back. It's Money in the Bank, the premium live event. 5 matches in 3 hours where there was only 87 minutes of actual wrestling. I
Yeah.
made a video on our little page here, and it got quite a lot of hate for the video I made. It was the top 5 botches for Money in the Bank, and that was more making fun. People make mistakes. That happens all the time. But at the end, my number one botch was the overall booking of this whole entire pay-per-view. I was bored. I was flat out bored
Yeah.
with this pay-per-view. There were some fun matches, the ladies' Money in the Bank in particular, but with the booking and the decisions that were made, it was the lowest common denominator of finality in all of these things. I didn't really enjoy Sami Zayn becoming Super Sammy and now being the only man on earth to beat Braun Breaker and Gunther in a singles match. I didn't really enjoy Drew McIntyre cashing in an FCM, but we knew that was coming. We knew it all was coming. But you are the more WWE fan here. Is there anything other than Tiffany Stratton? We'll talk about her in a second. Is there anything from this overall pay-per-view that made you pop?
No, but other than Cena's retirement, I was really disappointed with this show. And there's so many freaking commercials. It was unbelievable. I felt like I was watching a Raw. Like the whole thing felt like a Raw with a giant audience. Like it was very frustrating. Like it was just, like once they got to the matches, it was cool. But the entrances, I think you even messaged me, is like, how can we make these entrances any longer? Something like that. It was like 25 minutes. Every time there was a ladder match, we had to watch every guy's entrance. It was unreal. It was slow as hell. If you're going to do 5 matches, make the shows 2.5 hours. If you're going to kill all that time, because that was way too much time wasted on graphics, people talking about nothing, killing time, showing the promo for that stupid documentary. Like, this is supposed to be a pay-per-view, guys. A premium live event. Sorry. Yeah, I was just really disappointed. The women's Money in the Bank match stole the show for me. I kind of liked the Breaker Zayn match until the end, and then I was disappointed with how they booked that finish. So, no, overall, big thumbs down, Money in the Bank for me. Huge thumbs down. Massive disappointment.
And now the men's briefcase is gone for a full calendar year, which always stinks. But we
What a
do have,
waste.
let's talk about something positive. We do have the women's briefcase. We talked about in the show predicting who would win. I told you there was no chance Valkyrie or Stratton were going to win. And obviously Stratton came out with it. I said they were too young. They were too new. They're going to make them work for it a little bit. This is a huge endorsement in the future of Tiffany Stratton to give her this briefcase right now. I'm pumped about it.
Yeah, me too. And I think she should cash in on Bayley whenever the time is right. You don't have to rush it, but Bayley I love Bayley, but this title reign against Piper Niven, they had nothing planned for her. So give Stratton the belt. Let's see what she can do. She's 25. It's
Yeah, it's crazy.
unbelievable. Only 25 years old. Has only been wrestling for a few years. This isn't someone who dreamed of being a wrestler. It's just one of those rare talents, natural in the ring, and she deserves it. She's going to be champion by the end of the year, or by the end of this calendar year, next July. She has to cash in. She's definitely going to be champion. So props to
Well,
her. She deserves it.
Bob, let me throw a wrench into those plans here. They made this mention. They mentioned this during the pay per view quite a bit, enough a bit for me to notice it and sort of write it down in the old mental notes here. They said, like, if you win the men's Money in the Bank, there's an 87% chance you become champion or whatever the number ends up being. And they kept on saying it's 100% if you win the women's Money in the Bank, aka the cash-ins never not worked for the women's Money in the Bank briefcase. I
I
just
don't.
want to throw that out there. They made
I,
mention of it over and over and over again. So don't get your hopes up quite yet. I'm
I'll
excited for it. I hope it happens, but they've been pushing it, and you know what happens when they normally push those things.
Well, if that happens on whenever our next episode is, I'll be infuriated. Whenever they do that, I'll be infuriated on this channel. So tune in.
Tune in. Last thing on the not the last thing on the mid card, but last WWE subject on the mid card. Another return happened, my friend. It wasn't John Cena, and this happened on Monday Night Raw. Our girl, Rhea Ripley, is back. I mean, we're not going to recap everything that has happened. If you have not paid attention to this storyline, that's on you, man. It's probably the best storyline other than, I'd say it's the best storyline WWE has going, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But Liv
Yeah.
Morgan and Dominic Mysterio won their mixed tag match, and they were celebrating in the ring. Liv Morgan jumps up in his arms, and then they sort of fall down, and they're suddenly in a position that's a little bit interesting. It's starting to hear Shaggy, It Wasn't Me playing in the background, and then boom, Rhea Ripley's music hits. And boy, oh boy, do we have a feud on our hands. Bob, we've been waiting for this, man. Was this, I mean, I think this pop was worth it. I think this was
Yeah.
played to perfection.
Yeah, this has been great. This has been my favorite storyline in wrestling. You could argue the bloodline is better for WWE, what's going on with Paul Heyman, but no, this is my jam. This is absolutely ridiculous. Liv Morgan just manipulating everybody. They got a shot of her backstage after she sprinted away through the crowd from Rhea Ripley, laughing with a smile on her face. This is all going according to her plan. What that plan is, we don't know. Is she screwing around with Finn Balor and just fooling Dominic Mysterio? There's a ton of ways they can go with this. The Judgment Day is in shambles, I think. They're holding on by a thread here. Damian Priest, I feel like it's going to be, I feel like we're missing something huge that's going to be revealed in a couple of weeks, and I'm here for it. But my theory is that Liv Morgan's working with Finn Balor this whole time. He's the one who stole the room key. That's the one. That's where I'm going. Finn Balor versus Damian Priest, I guess. If Gunther, I feel like Gunther's dethroning Damian Priest in less than a month at SummerSlam. So maybe we'll see. But there's a million ways to go. But Liv Morgan versus Rhea Ripley for the Women's World Championship at SummerSlam could main event the show, in my opinion. If that's when they're going to have that match, they can main event SummerSlam with Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley, and I would be fine with it.
It is interesting to see that obviously Damian Priest's road to SummerSlam is already planned out. We already know who he's facing, and yet it would be so much more interesting if the Judgment Day was somehow involved in that, wrapped into this storyline, because Damian Priest is kind of an ancillary piece in this thing now. He's sort of off to the side as the Judgment Day figures shit out with Rhea Ripley back. I don't really like that part of it, but I do think we're getting the split here, and Liv Morgan has divided the team, and now Rhea Ripley's coming back to rip it to shreds. And I'm so excited to see how all of that plays out. Rhea Ripley versus Liv Morgan should be the main event of SummerSlam. It won't, but it absolutely should. And I can't wait, man. Are you a little disappointed though that Damian Priest is still the champion? Because I think it'd be much more interesting if he went back to his hands empty to the Judgment Day. Yes, he has to leave the Judgment Day, but that would just factor into all of this bullshit that's going on. I think him versus Gunther is kind of I don't care about that match now.
Yeah, I if I were to have the booking pencil or whatever, if you will, I would have had if you're gonna have McIntyre fail that cash in and have CM Punk get involved, I would have had Rollins win the title anyways. Just have Rollins beat Priest at Money in the Bank to take the title, because I think Seth Rollins versus Gunther would be a better match at SummerSlam in my opinion. But Damian Priest, I will say, he was spotted laughing at Rhea Ripley being pissed at Dominic. So he got a call earlier in the night during Raw, presumably from Ripley. So he's involved in this storyline. We just don't know how. So he's not really an ancillary piece yet. Give it a couple more weeks. We'll see where this goes. I think they have bigger plans for him. But yeah, I would have taken the title off Priest at Money in the Bank. That botch was terrible. too, by the way.
I was
Like,
gonna say, I think Damian Priest agrees with you that Rollins
yeah,
should have been champion because he just
yeah,
didn't kick out at the end of it. And
yeah.
there were people saying that his music was supposed to hit, or Drew
No,
McIntyre's music was supposed to hit. No, again, he may have been
it
injured,
happened.
like he may have taken a knock to the head. Again, I'm not making fun of the guy for a mistake in the ring,
It
but that
happens.
was pretty ugly. And
Yeah.
yeah, that
Threw
was
off the
rough
whole
for the
match. Threw off the
champion.
whole match. The whole
It
rest of
really
the
did.
match was just like, what the hell just happened? Nobody could
It
get
really
past
did.
it. Yeah,
It really did. But hey, man, Rhea Ripley's back, and it's awesome
absolutely.
that she's back. I'm happy that she's healthy. And her versus Liv, we've been waiting for it to happen. And I'm so happy it's happening. And again,
Yeah.
a pop that was done to perfection. But let's put away WWE for a second. We'll talk about them again in a few minutes here. But we need to have our last mid card segment of the evening. And also, the main card involves AEW as well. And they kind of run into each other because Dynamite, to me, really was a blast to watch. And they're trying to pull out all the stops to try and scramble back up these ratings boards here as they try to seal this new television deal or whatever is going on in the background. But let's first off talk about Hangman Adam Page loses to Daniel Bryan. We'll talk about Daniel Bryan in a second. But this sends Hangman Adam Page right back to where the good boys are, the ones that said they would help him, the ones that said he didn't need them anymore. He went right back into the elite's hands. And we are building towards Blood and Guts in 2 weeks, where it's the Elite, Okada, Jack Perry, the Jackson, the Young Bucks, and Hangman Adam Page versus Team AEW, which is right now just, I guess, I don't know, Swerve Strickland and Mark Briscoe.
No, it's just
No,
Mark
no, it was,
Briscoe and Darby Allin,
Swerve.
right? Is
Swerve,
Swerve on
Swerve
there?
added himself in there.
Oh, okay.
Swerve added
Okay.
himself in there.
That makes it good.
Here's the thing. I want to Blood and Guts right now doesn't matter to me until we see the AEW side. I do want to talk about Hangman Adam Page because he has been an extremely interesting character since he has returned. I loved this match versus Bryan Danielson. I loved how just vicious this man has been since coming back. And I really thought they were going to make him into a monster and put him over Bryan. I even texted you, Bryan
Yeah.
Danielson's going to lose another big match tonight. But they're not pushing Hangman to the top right away. Instead, putting him back into this elite storyline. And now I'm much more intrigued by what the elite can do because there is realness to Hangman Adam Page. There is realness to this character that's not really in the elite. They're very much you hate them for how cuckoo crazy they are. But
Yeah.
Hangman Adam Page is a motherfucker. And
Yeah.
adding him to Blood and Guts is a scary situation. So how do you feel about the way they've treated Hangman for these 2 hours on Dynamite?
Well, Hangman's return has been very well done to me. Looks like he's like on the just a second away from completely losing his mind at all
Yeah.
times. That's what. So I'm very into that. It looks like they haven't really explained where he was for the past few months, so maybe they can go into that, like where the hell, like, and why he's losing his mind and what that hiatus was about. But yeah, I'm into Hangman Page, and I like the story with them versus the Elite. I have no idea who the other two people on Team AEW are going to be. Hopefully,
Three
it's not the.
people. We need
All
three
right, well, I
people
don't
in
want the
AEW.
acclaimed. I don't want the acclaimed involved in that match, but yeah, Hangman Page. I like this match, and I just feel like Bryan Danielson deserved this win, and I don't think they're going to give him the title victory at All In, but
Well,
I would love to see
we'll
it.
talk about D. Bryan in a
All
second,
right.
but
Okay.
yeah, but Hangman. I mean, the reason why Hangman went back to the elite, not because he couldn't beat Bryan Danielson on his own, but because Swerve added himself to Blood and Guts, and now Hangman's going to be in
Makes
the
sense.
same ring as
That makes
Swerve,
sense. Yeah.
and it's not going to be for a title. It's not going to be for at a pay per view. This is live on television, folks, on
Yeah.
TBS in 2 weeks' time. Like I'm
That's a good.
buying in, man. I'm
Yeah.
very excited to see this roll in, and my hope is my hope is this turns Hangman into an even bigger star than the Elite can have because he had a face to face with Okada. He was like giving a mean mugging contest to Okada. Like he's not going to fit in long with the Elite, and I really think there's a chance that he could break out of this an even bigger star than he is right now.
I
And I'm
agree.
pumped about that.
I hope he attacks the Elite during the match at some point. I hope he flips out because they lost and just beats the hell out of all four of them. I hope that's how the night goes off the air. I don't love Hangman Page, but I like his character. I like he's a good performer. He's a good athlete. I think they should get behind him. I think they should try to make him one of the biggest stars in the company. He has that potential, whether he's a heel or babyface. So just keep
Oh yeah.
going. I'm invested in Hangman Page. I hate the Elite. Well, I like Okada. I don't like the Young Bucks in the Dumb and Dumber suits, but I like the rest of the group. And yeah, that's what I would do. Just have the Elite lose to whoever Team AW is and have Hangman completely lose his shit next week. Like just full bore, tables, blood, kind of like what we saw at the end of tonight's Dynamite.
Yeah, let's move on to the main event of this week's show.
Yeah.
And it has to do with essentially the Owen Hart finals, both the men's and the women's. As we said, Bryan Danielson beat Hangman Adam Page. He will be facing Swerve in London. And Bryan Danielson, man, he's still
Yeah.
going for it, dude. He went to the Dustin Rhodes School of Blading tonight, and it was a lot. And then, speaking of blading, Mariah May beat Willow Nightingale. And what I thought was a little bit overbooked with Chris Statlander and everything running in, but at the end of the day, a good match and a great turn. Toni Storm, I was kind of expecting a turn after I saw how happy everyone was in the ring and how they stayed with it for a little bit of long time. And Toni Storm's grabbed Mariah May's hand and they're skipping down the aisle to grab the belt and look at the trophy. And I thought the whole time Toni Storm was going to be the one that turned in a jealous rage. No, Mariah May turned, man, and it was gruesome and expertly done. She beat the crap out of Tony. She beat the crap out of Luther, threw him through a table in one of the funniest table spots I've seen. A+ job by you, Luther. And then the gushing blood off of Toni Storm's face, attacking referees. The way we went out, Mariah May looking strong, half of her face bloodied like she's a character out of Batman. Like she was awesome. And I have to say, overall, with Daniel Bryan and Swerve and Hangman, and everything going on in that world, him going over Ospreay, being this big guy that you have to go get, and then on the other side, this Mariah May and Toni Storm build to All In London, which is a couple weeks away now. All In, All Out, whatever the fuck it's called, a couple weeks away here. We talked on this show, Bob, praying for Tony Khan to fucking book some shit, to build some shit. And that's why I wanted to make this the main event, because this mattered. This matters for this pay-per-view. It's not Forbidden Door anymore. It's not we're throwing together things at the last second to throw on a six-man on the pay-per-view. These two matches that they built tonight and have been building for a while. This Toni Storm, Mariah May storyline has been going on for months. I am so excited as a fan of AEW to watch this stuff moving forward. You, as sort of the neutral fan in this world, the WWE side of things, how did this affect you, and are you now looking forward to London even more?
Yeah, this was one of the best closing 2 minutes of a show, any show of the year, past few years. I'll go that far. I really enjoyed this. And I haven't loved everything about Mariah May and the kissing and the weird stuff, but this grabbed my attention. I really like this heel turn by Mariah May. Got me super invested in her character, and I'm actually glad that they didn't turn Toni Storm heel. She's kind of like a tweener anyway. She can be both. It doesn't matter. Mariah May needed a direction other than being in Toni Storm's shadow. She stepped out of it emphatically tonight, and she could dethrone Toni Storm at All In or at Wembley, and I'd be fine with that. This was a star-making segment for her. This was Absolutely. A huge deal. This is, if her career goes well, she'll remember this moment as like the stepping stone, her breaking out point, because it was that well done. People were clamoring about it online. Everybody was talking about it. So it's a huge segment. That's what we were talking about, where they need stuff that people are talking about other than crapping on the show. The MJF heel turn last week. This segment this week. You need to do it every week. You got to come up with something else next week on Dynamite to get people invested in. So
they did that too, Bob. Like, that's the thing. I was so happy tonight because they did that too. Not only do they have blood and guts in 2 weeks for us to look forward to, whether you like the Elite storyline or not, but next week, episode 250, I guess, it's the 250th episode of Dynamite. We're having MJF versus Will Ospreay for the belt. We're not saving that for a pay-per-view.
The international title.
Whatever the fuck it's called. We're burning that right now. It's happening right now to start next week's Dynamite. They are begging for ratings, and they're pulling out all the stops to get it, man. I'm so tuning in. This is all I wanted. It's not hard. Just make these guys matter and make it important. Almost every segment of tonight's Dynamite mattered and was important. And then they had a random four-way fight between four guys from a different country that I did not watch nor pay attention to at all. But take that away, we had about an hour 30 of a really good show. And I'm pumped for the future for that. If we can keep doing that, then it's going to be a successful company. It's going to keep moving forward. I'm pumped for it. What do you think about MJF and Ospreay burning that match right now? Obviously, I don't think we're going to have a clean finish anywhere.
Yeah, I think we're getting something screwy and we're building to something bigger. Maybe Daniel Garcia gets involved. There's a lot of ways you can go with it, but I'm going to tune in to see what happens. That's what's been missing from Dynamite for a long time. They give me a ton. You need multiple reasons for everybody to tune in, and I'm going to tune in to see what Mariah May does next. I'm going to tune in to see what the hell happens in this international championship match. I'm not going to tune in to see if Jericho has a forklift next week, but other than that, I'm going to be tuning into a lot of different things.
I forgot about that.
I'll never forget about it. But yeah, other than that, there's a lot of great stuff going on. Other than the Learning Tree and Samoa Joe, that's going to be like a stadium stampede at All In. I think they're building for that with Hook and Samoa Joe and the Learning Tree against. I don't give a shit about that feud, but everything else I'm invested in.
I will say, turning Jericho into like now he's like maniacal and bloodthirsty.
Yeah.
They saw like the Wyatt Six in WWE and we're like, all right, we can make the Learning Tree that way, right? Yeah, okay. Good luck, man. But other than that, AEW, props to you because we've been waiting for it and we're happier for it. That is it for the main card of our wrestling podcast today. Now we're going to move on to the gimmicks of the week. This is some stuff that happened that we need to note, but not big enough to get a main card slot. A couple of fun ones this week, and I want to start out with one that happened a couple of hours ago before recording here. I don't even know, Mace and Mansoor, those are their official names.
Yeah.
They are now signed with AEW.
Yeah.
Max Caster of The Acclaim tweeted out, like, we don't want them here in all caps. And Mansoor, whatever his name is, went online, played the Acclaimed theme music, and just burned Max Caster to the ground with a little 4-line rap and ended it all with put the fries in the bag.
Yeah. Man. It was just great. He's just sitting there eating a meal, eating rice or whatever the hell he was eating. Go ahead.
No, go for it. Like it was. No, it's just, I'm in.
He was just so casual about it and just showed how easy it is to do some raps. You're not that special, Max Caster. It was just brilliant. Just absolutely brilliant. Just cut him down with a calm energy. Loved it.
Yeah. Yeah. Put some fries in the bag was my favorite part at the end, man. That's not going to go over well in the locker. Like when those two are in the locker room together for the first time, like Samoa Joe's going to have to stand between them so they can talk shit out. Cause that's, I wouldn't take that very well if I was Max Caster, even though I probably deserve it. And we know he's not going to take very well because we know how he is. Let's move on to the return of the week. Bob, Marco Stunt's back.
Oh, yeah. Hooray. We were going to give this to Rhea Ripley, but we can't talk about her again. Marco Stunt came back. Jack Perry, who was like 2 inches taller than him, killed him on Collision. And that's that. The original Jurassic Express without Luchasaurus reunited. I don't care, man. But Marco Stunt's back. Congratulations. I just can't. That was such a weird shock me when I saw that on the internet. I was never in a million years thought I'd see Marco Stunt ever again. I thought that was like a nightmarish thing that we all moved past, but he's back. For some reason, he returned.
Not only did we give him return of the week, we almost gave him jobber of the week, but instead that's going to one of my favorites, a man they called GTA.
GPA? Grade point average, like a grade point average
in high school. Yeah, grade point average. He lost to Kyle O'Reilly this week in 87 seconds. And just look at this GIF. I don't know when Bob's going to put it in the video, but this man is when you go to wrestling school and they say like, hey man, we need you to lose in 80 seconds on this week's Raw. There's going to be a big break. Do this. Have a bit. Have a shtick. Make yourself memorable because that GIF right there, wherever it's playing on the screen right now, that is memorable. Great job by GPA. Jobber of the week, one of the best jobbers we've ever had. Get well soon of the week. Not to take this on a down note here, but Bob, we got a couple of get well soon.
Yeah, Tyler Bate of the New Catch Republic with Pete Dunne. Tore his pec. Will be out for months on end, but he's a much younger guy. Maybe we'll be back in 3 months. Who knows? But Tyler Bate, get well soon. Incredible wrestler. I don't even in NXT UK had some great matches with Dunne and Gunther when he was known as Walter back in the day. Great wrestler. Get well soon.
Yep, get well soon. Also, Riho, the first women's champion ever in AEW. I believe fractured a forearm diving outside of the ring. That's not going to be fun either. Get well soon to Riho. To be frank, I didn't know she was still in AEW. But let's finish with the pop of the week. It's your boy, Bob.
Yeah, I believe in Joe Hendry. They teased it last week. The final shot of last week's NXT was Joe Hendry's face. He showed up this week, teamed with Trick Williams to defeat the great team of Ethan Page, NXT champion Ethan Page.
NXT champion Ethan Page.
Yeah, and Sean Spears. The great team of Ethan Page and Sean Spears. But
that
Joe
could
Hendry's
be you, Ricky Starks. Are you watching?
Yeah,
That could be
yeah.
you, Ricky.
But Joe Hendry is, I love this story, and I'm just really happy for that guy, and he deserves everything. He's been toiling at this for years. Just to get a break overnight like that is awesome.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I'm happy it's happening for him, even though he kind of almost lost Ethan Page on his choke slam there. But hey, we're doing it. We're doing it, Joe Hendry. He's in there, as is Stephanie Vacour, apparently, from the Just on Forbidden Door, and now she's going to be in NXT as well. I don't know what's happening with WWE, but they're working with it. Jordan Grace is going to be there. They're working with everybody now. NXT is going to be a lot of fun over the next coming months. That is it for the gimmicks of the week. And the last thing we're going to do is the headlines of the week. This is when we tell you what the wrestling world's going to be talking about at this point next week. Bob does WWE. I do AEW. Bob, you going first this week. What's WWE's headline for next week?
Triple H needs to take some advice from Shawn Michaels on how to book premium live events, because Money in the Bank, the commercials, we already talked about it sucked ass. We got the Clash in the Castle was okay. King and Queen in the Ring, 5 matches sucked ass too. I haven't been a huge fan of these premium live events. If you're going to have 5 matches, we don't need the filler between every single one of them. Take some advice from Shawn Michaels. NXT Heatwave was a much better viewing experience than Money in the Bank.
Again, not just the headline, but the whole article by Mr. Robert Lentini. Let's move on to AEW. My headline of the week is, at this time next week, boy, oh boy, we're building the MJF versus Will Ospreay in London. And I don't know how we get there. I don't know what happens on Wednesday next week, but I know there's not going to be a straight finish. I know there's going to be some chicanery. I think MJF walks away with that belt, but I think we are building towards MJF and Will Ospreay in London. And all those times where I thought about, well, Will Ospreay could beat Swerve, and then Ospreay could fight Daniel Bryan in London, and all these other permutations of what could happen. We're getting the card already. We are getting the set card already. And Will Ospreay and MJF still need a dancing partner. And I don't know if there's a better match you could have. It's not going to be for the main belt, but I don't think it matters. MJF, Ospreay in London would be phenomenal. And I think it starts next week. But that is it for the Ridiculously Lame Wrestling Show. My name is Tony Squares, Robert Lentini as well. Again, thank you for all the likes and subscribes. We've grown we've grown a little bit over the past few weeks. We're going to keep on pumping out the content there. And thank you again for enjoying it, even if you hate my takes on your botch fest of Money in the Bank. But before we leave, as always, Bob, a lot of likes. Before we leave, as always, Bob, let's check in this week in Ryback.